just loving the new Michelle Obama podcast. I just love new Michelle Obama podcast. Okay.
We couldn't walk around saying valedictorian, straight A student, speaks excellent, has excellent diction if you give them a chance. Mm-hmm. We knew very early on that no one was going to see beyond the color of our skin at an early age.
Well, let's go ahead and check in on the new Michelle Obama podcast, because boy, it is trending again today. Michelle Obama getting all that attention she so desperately craves because she says she's a black man. Okay, let me read you the quote. Michelle Obama, you're raising a trans kid. That warms my heart as a black man. Did Michelle Obama just admit that she's actually Big Mike?
And at this phase of my life, I'm in therapy right now because I'm transitioning.
Michelle Obama is really struggling. Have you seen this, guys, with these divorce rumors? I mean, one after another, after another, after another. Jennifer Aniston is alleged to be the former president's big flame. It became such an issue that apparently she had to go on the Jimmy Kimmel show and say, no, it couldn't possibly be true, because I think Us Weekly or In Touch or one of these things did a whole spread, the supermarket tabloid, all about Jennifer Aniston and Barack Obama. So obviously these questions have surfaced because Michelle Obama has been MIA at some rather key events. There was the inauguration, right, of the presidency, the president of the United States. That was kind of a big one to miss. Maybe she doesn't like him for political reasons. Toughen up, you got to do it anyway. But I would say the one that really surprised me was Jimmy Carter's funeral. She just didn't go. And you know what the excuse was? That she was on vacation, a prolonged vacation. You're first lady for 8 years, and you don't have the decency to show up at a former, he's like the Jesus Christ superstar of the Democrat Party, Jimmy Carter, for goodness sakes. You don't have the decency to go to his funeral when he helped lead that whole movement. Remember, not my president, not my president. That was Jimmy Carter. Forgive me. That may have been Maxine Waters. Jimmy Carter was the one who said he's not legit. Jimmy Carter's the one who went on and said that he was put in place by the Russians. And then that whole thing got picked up. Oh, remember that one? Oh, that was good. You didn't have the decency to go to his funeral after he did you guys this huge favor and started a whole big story.
Russia has been proven by our intelligence community to have interfered with one of our human rights, which is the right of free and fair elections. Yeah. What's your reaction? How should we deal with Russia?
Well, the president himself should condemn it, admit that it happened, which I think 16 of the intelligence agencies have already agreed to say. And there's no doubt that the Russians did interfere in the election. And I think the interference, although not yet quantified, if fully investigated, would show that Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election. And he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
Oops.
I'm 60 years old. I finished a really hard thing in my life with my family intact. I'm an empty nester. My girls are in, they've been launched. And now for the first time, as I've said before, every choice that I'm making is completely mine. I now don't have the excuse of, well, my kids need this or my husband needs that or the country needs that. So how do I think about this next phase? And let me get some help.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. This has got to be one of the best weeks of Michelle Obama's life. She's finally getting the thing she craves the very most. Everyone is paying attention to her.
My decision to skip the inauguration, what people don't realize, or my decision to make choices at the beginning of this year that suited me were met with such ridicule and criticism. Like, people couldn't believe that I was saying no for any other reason, that they had to assume that my marriage was falling apart.
Right. Do you ever worry about that? Like, for instance, this is a magazine that came out a couple of weeks ago and said the truth about Jen and Barack.
That was
it's like, while I'm here really trying to own my life and intentionally practice making the choice that was right for me. And it took everything in my power to not do the thing that was right or that was perceived as right, but do the thing that was right for me. Mm-hmm. That was a hard thing for me to do. Mm-hmm. I had to basically trick myself out of it. And it started with not having anything to wear. I mean, I had affirmatively, because I'm always prepared for any funeral, anything. I walk around with the right dress. I travel with clothes just in case something pops off. Mm-hmm. So I was like, if I'm not going to do this thing, I got to tell my...
You're raising a trans kid warms my heart as a black man. Now she's talking to Marlon Wayans here. So maybe she's talking to him. Let me play the clip and then we'll go through the breakdown here. It is a strange way to say this.
Talk, Marlon, a bit about, just so proud of how you are being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender.
Absolutely.
And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a black man. Would you care to share that journey of...
Well, I learned...
So she did say that. The quote is technically accurate. What's going to be argued here is that maybe she's referring to Marlon Wayans there. But like a strange thing to, it's not like this is a live podcast. It's a strange thing to leave in the podcast. Like you didn't just edit that out. I guess nobody's listening, not even the producers.
There are a lot of people here of all ages who are trapped by their phones. And when you talk about us being disconnected and not talking to each other, I am not out in the world like a normal person anymore. But when I am, people don't even recognize me. You know why? Because they're on their phones.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine Michelle Obama, super rich, privileged lady who's a professional victim worth hundreds of millions of dollars, who hasn't provided any value or service to the American economy at all, other than sitting there and complaining all day about how horrible we are.
Let me unwind some old habits. Let me sort through some old guilt that I've been carrying around. Let me talk about how my relationship with my mother has affected how I think about things. So I'm getting that tune up for this next phase because I believe this is a whole nother phase in life for me. And I now have the wisdom to know, let me go get some coaching while I'm doing it so that I've got other voices other than the people who know me best. I've got a new person that's getting to know me and seeing me completely new and hearing all these emotions. I am an advocate of it. Everybody needs to find their form of it the best way they can.
Hello, Kara from the future here. A big thank you to BetterHelp for making adventures like these possible. So everyone knows that taking care of your physical health is essential. I actually don't know at this point. But yeah, we talk about our physical health all the time, but it took me a really long time, I feel like I should take my sunglasses off, to realize that taking care of my mental health is just as crucial, if not more.
Michelle Obama's YouTube channel completely crashing and burning. She's upset that we don't pay enough attention to her.
Oh my gosh. Every time Michael opens his mouth, I dislike him more. That's actually a comment on Trish Reagan's video. But this one here really caught my attention this morning, and no wonder why I got a bullseye emoji from Elon Musk on this repost quote. And Kimberly Classic asks, why aren't kids in the hood transitioning to the opposite sex? I know the answer. Just wanted to see if you knew. Comment below. Granted, this is after we just watched a little bit of Benny Johnson's Michelle Obama admits she's a trans black man, ? Internet explodes. Michelle Obama admits it. However, Sarah Higdon says, well, because the typical demographic is upper middle class white kids of progressive parents. For two reasons. They have time and money to worry about such things and have been conditioned to believe through critical theory that they are an oppressor and there's no way they can ever escape that status. So they see this as a way to join an oppressed class for which they are celebrated for instead of condemned. It's the relationship between CRT and queer theory. What do you guys think?
for. So why don't we give Michelle Obama the thing that she always wants, the thing that she's wanted her entire life, for all of us to stare at her and to look at her and to pay attention to her. Let's start with Michelle Obama being compared to the new predator creature from Disney. I don't know if Disney did this on purpose. Pretty mean, Disney. If you did that, based Disney, maybe they are turning a corner. I don't know. But everybody's saying, oh yeah, girl boss predator. We need this in the franchise. Wonderful. Way to go, Disney. Michelle Obama. Every person on the internet said, this is Big Mike. This is Michelle. So this is Michelle. This was Michelle Obama. Is this the attention that you wanted, Michelle Obama? Was this it?
And that could get you in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about that fear, I'm sure that fear has been tested across your life in so many different places. And I wonder, what would you say has been the most hardest recent test of that fear? Because it's not one of those fears that you kind of get over and it just goes away. It kind of shows its head in many different ways, I imagine.
Well, in this current climate for me, it's, what's happening to immigrants, so it's not the fear for myself anymore. I drive around in a 4-car motorcade with a police escort. I'm Michelle Obama. I do still worry about my daughters in the world, even though they are somewhat recognizable. So my fears are for what I know is happening out there in streets all over the city. And now that we have leadership that is sort of indiscriminately determining who belongs and who doesn't, and we know that those decisions aren't being made with courts and with due process, and, that it's being made like this cop that pulled my brother over when he was 12.
I can think of one way to stand out less, not have a 4-car motorcade with a police escort. But yeah, continue to, woe is me, Michelle Obama. But pay close attention as she tells this story of systemic racism of her brother, who was pulled over at 12 years old. Can you explain to me why a 12-year-old was driving to be pulled over? Yeah. Definitely profiling him because he's black.
That it's being made like this cop that pulled my brother over when he was 12. You don't look like somebody that belongs. I can determine just by looking at you that you're a good person or you're not a good person. And knowing that there's so much bias and so much racism and so much ignorance that fuels those kind of choices.
One of the issues that Donald Trump is really under the water, probably his worst issue, is the Maryland man who is in El Salvador right now. It's something that...
Maryland man?
He is a Maryland man.
Come on.
What I will tell you
is... He is an El Salvadoran citizen. He is not a Maryland man. He is an illegal immigrant living in this country illegally for 14 years.
You can say whatever you want to say, Scott, but the American people...
This is why the polling is the way it is, because we're lying. We're lying.
We're not lying. The American people...
The peace orders were in Maryland.
This dude's a Maryland man as much as I'm a Mexican man when I visit Cancun for vacation and go to an all-inclusive resort. Give me a freaking break. This one here, though, is really important. The tattoos tell everything. The tattoos in MS-13 represent killings. A member cannot have those tattoos unless they have killed people. Keep that in mind.
I worry for people of color all over this country. And I don't know that we will have the advocates to protect everybody. And that frightens me. It keeps me up at night. And I know that I see that when I'm driving around LA, I'm just looking in the faces of folks who could be victim. And I'm wondering, how are you feeling? How do you feel standing on the bus stop? How do you feel comfortable going to work, going to school?
Oh my God, fuck you, Nazi! Fuck you, Nazi! Go fuck yourself! I love you! You! Or a shame! Shame! If you'll run. I feel very, very sorry for you. Shame! You're just a little man. Little man. You know what? Good for you. Just about. I'm sorry. We need you out of the road, please.
When you know that there could be people out here judging you and who could upend your life in a second, that's who I worry for right now.
There was this kid before I knew his name now. This kid was sitting under our tent at track. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, "You need to move." And he's like, "Make me move." Austin grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I look at my brother, and then I'm not going to talk about the rest. So just that's just what I saw. And I tried to help him, but
it was just senseless.
It was really senseless. Really, I don't know why a person would do that to someone just over that little argument. It's just crazy in this world nowadays how people just up and do that. Like that man has a family. That man has people that care about them all the time, and he did everything for our family too. He was a strong man. He was a strong kid.
When you know that there could be people out here judging you and who could upend your life in a second, that's who I worry for right now.
We like photos of like me pushing my kids on a swing on a Sunday morning get more engagement than Michelle Obama's entire podcast with D and C list celebrities. Michelle Obama, you're being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender. That warms my heart as a black man. It's just a strange way to phrase that. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds about right. It's a good thing Michelle Obama's in therapy because she needs some fucking help.